Letter 358 by Charles Lamb. P.M. December 1, 1824. Dear B. If Mr. Mitford will send me a full and circumstantial description of his desired vases, I will transmit the same to a gentleman resident at Canton, whom I think I have interest enough in to take the proper care for their execution. But Mr. M. must have patience. China is a great way off, further perhaps than he thinks, and his next year's roses must be content to wither in a Wedgwood pot. He will please to say whether he should like his arms upon them, and see I send herewith some patterns, which suggest themselves to me at the first blush of the subject, but he will probably consult his own taste after all. The last pattern is obviously fitted for ranunculuses only. The two former may indifferently hold daisies, marjoram, sweet williams, and that sort. My friend in Canton is inspector of teas, his name Ball, and I can think of no better tunnel. I shall expect Mr. M.'s decision. Taylor and Hesse, finding their magazine goes off very heavily at 2s. 6d, are prudently going to raise their price another shilling, and having already more authors than they want, intend to increase the number of them. If they set up against the new monthly, they must change their present hands. It is not tying the dead carcass of a review to a half-dead magazine will do their business. It is like G.D. multiplying his volumes to make 'em sell better. When he finds one will not go off, he publishes 2. 2 stick, he tries 3. 3 hang fire, he is confident that 4 will have a better chance. And now, my dear sir, trifling apart, the gloomy catastrophe of yesterday morning prompts a sadder vein. The fate of the unfortunate Fauntleroy makes me, whether I will or no, to cast reflecting eyes around on such of my friends as by a parity of situation are exposed to a similarity of temptation. My very style seems to myself to become more impressive than usual, with the change of theme. Who that standeth, knoweth but he may yet fall. Your hands as yet, I am most willing to believe, have never deviated into others' property. You think it impossible that you could ever commit so heinous an offense. But so thought Fauntleroy once, so have thought many besides him, who at last have expiated as he hath done. You are as yet upright, but you are a banker, at least the next thing to it. I feel the delicacy of the subject, but cash must pass through your hands, sometimes to a great amount, if in an unguarded hour, but I will hope better. Consider the scandal it will bring upon those of your persuasion. Thousands would go to see a Quaker hanged, that would be indifferent to the fate of a Presbyterian or an Anabaptist. Think of the effect it would have on the sale of your poems alone, not to mention higher considerations. I tremble, I am sure, at myself, when I think that so many poor victims of the law at one time of their life made as sure of never being hanged as I in my presumption am too ready to do myself. What are we better than they? Do we come into the world with different necks? Is there any distinctive mark under our left ears? Are we unstrangulable, I ask you? Think of these things. I am shocked sometimes at the shape of my own fingers, not for their resemblance to the ape tribe, which is something, but for the exquisite adaptation of them to the purposes of picking, fingering, and see no one that is so framed. I maintain it, but should tremble. Postscript for your daughter's eyes only. Dear Miss, your pretty little letterets make me ashamed of my great straggling coarse handwriting. I wonder where you get pens to write so small. Sure they must be the pinions of a small wren or a robin. If you write so in your album, you must give us glasses to read by. I have seen a lady's similar book all writ in following fashion. I think it pretty and fanciful. Oh, how I love in early dawn to bend my steps o'er flowery dawn lawn, which I think has an agreeable variety to the eye, which I recommend to your notice, with friend Elia's best wishes. The London Magazine began a new series at £0.50 with the number for January, 1825. It had begun to decline very noticeably. The new monthly magazine, to the January number of which Lamb contributed his illustrious defunct essay, was its most serious rival. Lamb returned to some of his old vivacity and copiousness in the London Magazine for January, 1825. To that number he contributed his biographical memoir of Mr. Liston and the Vision of Horns, and to the February number, Letter to an Old Gentleman, Unitarian Protests, and the autobiography of Mr. Munden. G.D. George Dyer again. Fauntleroy, see note above. Fauntleroy's fate seems to have had great fascination for Lamb. He returned to the subject in the vein of this letter in The Last Peach, a little essay printed in the London Magazine for April 1825 see vol. I of this edition, and in Memories of Old Friends being extracts from the journals and letters of Caroline Fox. From 1835 to 1871, 1882, I find the following entry. October 25 L 839. G. Whitewick and others dined with us. He talked agreeably about capital punishments, greatly doubting their having any effect in preventing crime. Soon after Fauntleroy was hanged, an advertisement appeared, to all good Christians. Pray for the soul of Fauntleroy. This created a good deal of speculation as to whether he was a Catholic, and at one of Coleridge's soirees it was discussed for a considerable time. At length Coleridge, turning to Lamb, asked, "Do you know anything about this affair?" "I should think I did," said Elia, "for I paid SSS 7 and 6 for it." Lamb's postscript is written in extremely small characters, and the letters of the 2 lines of verse are in alternate red and black inks. It was this letter which, Edward Fitzgerald tells us, Thackeray pressed to his forehead, with the remark, St. Charles. Hitherto, the postscript not having been thought worthy of print by previous editors, it was a little difficult to understand why this particular letter had been selected for Thackeray's epithet. But when one thinks of the patience with which, after making gentle fun of her father, Lamb sat down to amuse Lucy Barton, and, as Thackeray did, thinks also of his whole life, it becomes more clear. Here should come a letter to Alaric A. Watts dated Dec. 28, 1824, in reply to a request for a contribution to one of this inveterate album maker's albums. Lamb acquiesces. Later he came to curse the things, given in the Boston Bibliophile edition.